Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewired to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewired to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rewired to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am pumped up to be on the microphone with you all today. I just recorded such a powerful episode that I'm so excited for you guys to all see. It came out on Tuesday, so if you are listening today on Thursday, that episode came out 2 days ago, so if you missed it, I highly recommend going and checking it out. It is one of my biggest passions to talk about. So for today, we are going to talk about another one of my passions. And honestly, everything that I talk about on my podcast is a passion, is an alignment, and that is why I share it with you all, because it comes directly from my heart and from my experiences and from my learnings, and I just want to share that with each and every one of you. So just know that every single time an episode drops, it comes from my heart because I truly want it to land and resonate and to help just our society grow as a collective, to reframe our globe's narrative around mental health, inner child healing, discovering your soul's purpose, self-love, and just becoming the best version of ourselves and changing having a fixed mindset. So if this is your first time tuning into Rewire to Inspire, welcome. I am so excited to have you here. If you are tuning back in for another episode, welcome back. I am so excited to have you here as well, and just so excited to continue learning, evolving, and growing together. And for today's episode, we are going to talk about something that I know I just said I'm extremely passionate, but something that I know all of you guys in some way, shape, or form are going to resonate with, because it's something that we all do. It's something that we do every single day. It's something we have done since the second we were brought into the face of this earth. And so for today, we are going to talk about breath work, and we're going to talk about different techniques for improving our breath work. And we are going to talk about why having good breath work is so crucial to living an optimal life. And so I want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing that is crucial when we're born? What is the first thing that the doctors look for as soon as you enter this world? They look to see if you're breathing. It's the one automatic thing that we need to be doing in order to be alive. We need to be breathing, right? It's the first thing that we have when we come into this world, or hopefully we have, and the last thing that we have before we leave the world, right? It's our breath. And breath work and breathing is absolutely crucial. Yet we learn very, very little about it unless we're proactively going out and trying to learn about it. And I learned a lot about breath work through my practice as a social worker, and grounding techniques and trauma healing and meditation and yoga. I learned a lot about breath work, but one of my favorite idols for talking about breath work is Jay Shetty, and I learned a lot in his book, Think Like a Monk. And he says in that book, when you're happy, your breath changes. When you're sad, your breath changes. Your breath is connected to every emotion in your life. If you know how to navigate your breath, you will know how to navigate life. And I just find that to be such a powerful statement, because it's so true. Even right now, I want you to just pause and ask yourself and just check in. How is your breathing? Right now, my breathing's a little faster because I got adrenaline pumping and I'm super, super excited, and I need that fast heart rate and that fast breathing to amp me up, and that is the power of it. But if right now my breath was super shallow and my vibe was at a resting state, that would also be okay, but this is showing me signs that I'm excited and I'm ready to go. But if my breath was doing that and I was just laying in bed, that might be a red flag. And so bringing awareness right now to your breath work. And again, we're going to go through some techniques together. We're going to breathe together intentionally on this podcast. And so I'm so excited to just dive in and chat a little bit more about just our nervous system and how breath work plays into so many things in our life. And the thing is that even in just what I just said, things in life are always, will always, ever-endingly are going to change. And some things we have control of, some things we don't have control of. But the breath is the one thing that's a constant. It's the one thing that we can have control of in every instance. And how we breathe matters so, so much. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, we learn almost nothing about it. And this has really only become apparent to me because of Jay Shetty, but also, again, a lot through yoga. But had I not crossed paths with these things, I likely wouldn't really think any different of breathing, because it's something that we don't have to have any cognizant of what we're doing technically to stay alive. However, if we want to opt our life and calm our nervous system and just allow our body to rest and digest, it's so important that we bring awareness to our breath. And so something I found super, super interesting in Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk, is he shares that there was his first day of monk school. He was, going around and he stumbled across this class of first years, very, very young kids beginning to go to monk school and learning how to be a monk. And Jay Shetty asked this 10-year-old student, what is it you're teaching these students? And the student said, well, what did you learn on your first day of school? And Jay Shetty said, probably ABCs, 1, 2, 3, basic stuff. And he said, well, what are you teaching these kids? And the 10-year-old student replied and said, we're teaching them how to breathe. We're teaching them how to use their breath. And Jay Shetty expresses that he was so thrown off by this amazing perspective, enough so that he wanted to share it with the world. And the thing is that all of our greatest experiences in life are through breath. So if we learn to manage and navigate our breath, you'll be less phased in life by challenges, because you'll begin to notice when you're out of breath, literally and, psychologically, of saying, beginning to tap in and notice, when I breathe heavier, I might be feeling anxious. When I breathe more deeply, I might be feeling tired. And we begin to correlate our breath with our emotions. And so when we're able to take control of our breath, and instead of allowing them to control us, we control it, that is when we're able to begin to live optimally, because your breath is the core of your physical and your mental being. And over time, societally, in the grand scheme of things, over time, our breath patterns have shifted, and they've shifted as a reaction to our environmental stressors like temperature and pollution and noise and other causes of anxiety. So over time, our breath has naturally changed to suit us and to protect us and to get us ready to fight, get us ready to flee, get us ready to freeze, get us ready to whatever. Our breath is the way it is to keep us safe. However, how those things that might have served us in the past might not be serving us moving forward. And when we breathe in a shallow way, the body remains in a cyclical state of stress, because our stress causes shallow breathing, and shallow breathing causes stress. And I noticed this even the other day. I had to go get blood work done. And the one thing I've done pretty much my whole life, whenever I'm in pain, getting a needle, getting anything that I just don't want to get done in a hospital setting or in a medical setting, is I hold my breath. And I don't know why I do this. I think it takes away the pain. I've done this as long as I can remember. And it always makes things worse, because A, I'm not getting oxygen to my brain, and so I often end up fainting. But B, I'm increasing my stress, because when we shallow breathe and we deep breathe, when you're running and you get short of breath and your heart's beating faster and it's trying to keep up, we do that subconsciously without even realizing it when we're stressed. And that's called shallow breathing. And we're going to talk about shallow breathing versus deep breathing today. But shallow breathing is something that we do almost, I would say, 90% of our day without even realizing it. We breathe so fast. And I've actually begun to notice people around me and I'll begin to like watch their chest, and I can see how fast they're breathing, and I can tell if someone's feeling anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, whatever, just by the way they're breathing. Because if you're sitting there and you're like, your body thinks that something's happening. Your body thinks that you're in a state of stress when you might literally just be sitting on your couch watching a show. And so you can see how our body begins to overactivate and overdrive us into overdrive because our mind doesn't know the difference between how our body is acting and what is actually happening in our environment. And shallow breathing is one of the worst things we can do when we're not needing to, because it causes our body to work so much harder to keep us grounded and to keep us safe. Because as I've chatted about before on my podcast, we basically have two different nervous systems. We have our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system. And our sympathetic nervous system, which is what helps our body to activate fight, flight, and freeze, that is our stress response. Our parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest state. That is when our body feels grounded, it feels safe, everything is working in flow, everything is working as it's supposed to. But when we shallow breathe and increase our stress, we're actually activating our sympathetic nervous system. And again, which is a network of nerves that helps us get ready to fight, flight, and freeze. That is what boosts our adrenaline, boosts our cortisol, boosts our just ability to begin to fight. And the thing is we can become stuck in a state of sympathetic nervous system, and so our body's just constantly in overdrive, which is why we feel tired, our digestion is off, we have all these aches and pains, we feel like we get sick all the time, we feel like we're never rested, we feel resentful, and that's because our body literally becomes stuck in a state of fight. And this happens all the time as a trauma response, where we undergo trauma and then our body has fixed itself so much to stay stuck in a sympathetic nervous system to keep us safe, because our body doesn't ever want us to feel threatened again. And so by constantly staying on alert, it in a way is like a backwards way of staying safe. Our body thinks that if we just stay in that like state of ready to act, ready to fight, that is a good thing. But it's only a good thing when we actually have to. When we're just sitting at home and we're safe and we know in our cognitive brain we're safe, but the back of our mind and our hippocampus and our amygdala don't know that we're safe and it's shutting down, it's causing our whole body to shut down. And I know that I lived in this state for so long because I would randomly have so many pains and I would feel tired and I would just feel almost delusional and just, I felt super off. And once I started to connect my breath work and turn on my parasympathetic nervous system more and more and more, and retraining my brain and rewiring my brain that I am safe, I am okay, I am grounded, I am okay here, I don't have to worry right now. We're giving our brain that permission to just turn it down a little bit, to relax, to come back to a homeostasis state. And again, shallow breathing equals danger to the brain. And we live so much of our life in this state without even realizing it, causing our bodies to work harder, be in overdrive, and it is exhausting. Of course it's exhausting. Of course you're exhausted because your body is just constantly ready to go. Can you imagine sitting at like a red light just waiting for it to turn green all the time? Just like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and that light will turn green and then you go and then boom, it's a red light again, and then you stop and stop and stop and then oh, it's green, and then you go and then you stop. It's exhausting and it's a lot. And that is why we have a hard time being present. We have a hard time doing tasks. We have a hard time doing X, Y, and Z because our mind is just somewhere else and thinking about ways to keep us safe. But the good news is that we are able to work on this through grounding and through breath work. And that was literally my job when I worked at a sexual assault healing center, was to focus on grounding, psychoeducation, talking about breath work. And a lot of times when I would bring up breath work to my clients, they would just say like, are we really going to talk about this breathing thing? And it's like, I get it. Like, it's over talked about. However, I think it's over talked about, but it's undervalued. I think we talk about it, but we don't actually do it. And that's the difference. Whereas if we actually did it, we would know that it works really, 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 really well and is actually crucial. And so I want to talk about deep breathing and deep breathing exercises, because we can actually begin to retrain our breath work to go to that deep breathing state without even realizing it. And again, for a while, I used to put up sticky notes. I say this all the time of different things. How is your breath work? How are you breathing? Every time I literally get to that red light, physically when I'm driving, I'll take a deep breath and just pause for a second. And you'll even notice whenever you get super angry or agitated, do you ever just take that big deep sigh? It's almost like your body's forcing you to do it. It's literally because your body's recognizing, I need some oxygen to my brain. I need to rest. I need to take just a big deep breath and reset myself. That is why we do that. And I want to go over some deep breathing exercises that can help to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest, and also increase that oxygen flow to your brain, which is going to help with recovering your muscles, recovering your body, helping with memory, helping with just allowing your body to, lack of better words, chill out for a little bit. And so now you might be sitting there like hyper focused on your breath, which honestly is a good thing and is kind of the whole point of this podcast. And like anything in life, bringing awareness to it is the first step, because when we can begin to bring awareness to our breath and notice when we're shallow breathing, that is when we're able to pick up on it, cue to our brain, bringing our hippocampus, our logic part of our brain back online and saying, maybe it's time to pause and take some deep breaths. And so now for the remainder of today's episode, I want us to actually go through a couple grounding techniques and breathing techniques. And the first one is one that you've probably heard of, but it's honestly all of these you've probably heard of, but it's a good reminder and a good refresher. And if you haven't, I'm so excited to share these with you. And the first one is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. And this is one that I use all the time because you can do it anywhere, any place, at any time. It is, you don't need anything to do it except for your own awareness in your mind. And it is such a powerful, powerful grounding technique because, again, just a reminder, when we're in a state of overdrive or in a state of panic, it's often because your amygdala or your brain or your body picked up on something in your environment it thinks is a danger. And so it pulls that cord. And so if we're able to ground ourselves and come back in our body, that is when we're able to, again, come back to that parasympathetic state. And so the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique is basically saying 5 things that you can see. So right now, look around your environment and say 5 things you can see. I can see a plant in front of me. I can see my laptop. I can see macrame. I can see my social worker certificate, and I can see my dog. Takes a couple seconds. Then I want you to say 4 things you can touch. What are 4 things around you right now you can touch? A really good one is to feel the texture of your clothes and describe it. So my sweater is like insanely soft. Like I wish you guys could feel through the audio or through the camera if you're watching how soft it is. And then my desk is a little cold. It's a little, feels like a desk. And then maybe I feel the cord on my headphones, feel what that feels like. And then maybe I feel my pen, kind of like a smooth texture. Takes a couple seconds. 3 things you can hear. Right now you can hear my voice. I'm going to stop talking for a second. What are 2 other things you can hear right now? I can hear my diffuser going, and I can hear a car driving by. Super easy. 2 things you can smell. Right now I have cinnamon and orange burning on my stove, and it smells so good. And I can also smell my diffuser going right here. It has energy in it, and oh my gosh, it smells so good. And 1 thing you can taste. Right now I can taste coffee in my mouth because I just had my morning coffee, and I honestly hate that about coffee. After I drink it, I just want to brush my teeth. But anyways, 1 thing you can taste. And that is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. And the reason that this one is so powerful is because you're using all your 5 senses. Your 5 senses are such a great tool to use to ground yourself. And if you're ever in a pinch and you just want like a quick grounding, your sense of smell, which I will get into more at the end of this podcast, but your sense of smell is your first sense that your mind picks up to bring your logical, cognitive part of your brain back online, which is just a little fun fact. The second technique I have for you guys is a game changer. It is a game changer for just your natural state, but it is a game changer for yoga, for working out, for just being grounded and feeling calm. And that is belly breathing or deep breathing or whatever you want to refer it to. But belly breathing targets our diaphragm. And we often think that breathing is our lungs, but our diaphragm is so much more important in these instances of deep breathing than our lungs, because our diaphragm is the big muscle that sits below your lungs, and it helps to move the air in and out of your lungs. And so diaphragmic breathing basically allows you to have a deeper, more powerful breath where your lungs are actually benefiting from the process. And so belly diaphragm breathing involves fully engaging the stomach and the abdominal muscles. And at first when I heard this, like I tried to do it sitting up, which I can do now. But in the beginning, I wish I would have kind of been told that it's easier to do this laying down in the beginning when you're learning. And so what I want you to do is your left or right hand, whatever you prefer, put one on your chest and one on your belly, like your lower belly where your belly button is. Your stake, somewhere's there. And what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in through your nose, drawing breath towards your stomach. And so when you do this, you should feel it in your bottom hand that is on your belly button. And as you breathe in, you're going to feel your belly expand against your hand, and your chest should stay still. So it should go something like this. And again, if you're audio only, you're only going to hear me, but I want you to try this. Of course, if you're not driving, one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Breathe in as deep as you can through your nose. And then exhale through your mouth. I can feel my diaphragm raising and then deflating as I do that. And that is exactly what you want. Let's do it one more time together. And when you breathe out through your mouth, your stomach will go in. And so whenever you feel overwhelmed, rushed, stressed, overworked, exhausted, anxious, angry, whatever it is, diaphragmatic breathing, deep belly breathing helps to lower your heart rate. My voice even changed after 2 breaths. Isn't that so powerful? And it just allows your blood pressure to drop. It allows your cortisol to drop. It allows you to reduce the oxygen demand, allowing you to be able to feel more relaxed. This helps with sleep. This helps with regulating ourselves, regulating our natural hormones, regulating our natural state of melatonin and just our body's way of working to its optimal capacity. Deep breathing. And it only takes 4 to 6 deep, intentional, deep breaths to reset our nervous system and to calm down. And so I encourage you to take 30 seconds a day to practice deep breathing. And while you're doing that, try to tell yourself things you're grateful for. It's 30 seconds of your day to change your life. And the more that we do this and rewire our brain to do it, sorry, I felt just so pulled to take a deep breath there. The more that you'll feel pulled to do it and the calmer you'll feel. So that is deep belly breathing. My third exercise for you guys is one that I love. Honestly, it's one that I'm obsessed with. And I think I'm obsessed with it because it really tickles in all the good ways, like my OCD and ADHD tendencies of having even numbers and things done cyclical and perfectly. And that's box breathing. And this is one that's talked about a lot. But basically what you're going to want to do is inhale for 4, exhale for 4, inhale for 4, exhale for 4. And you can hold as well. You can inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. It's totally up to you and whatever resonates with you. But again, I love this one because as I do it and as I breathe in, I literally visualize a line going up and over and down and over, making that box. So let's try it together right now. So in for 4, through your nose, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. It feels so good. Your body will just begin to shift, to stop worrying for a second. Because if you have a lot on your plate and a lot of things to do, and you can just stop for a second and take a deep breath and then go tackle it again, I promise you'll feel better. You'll feel less in a rush, less stress. Your work will actually be better because you'll be able to be more cognizant and aware and present. You'll be able to look at things differently. You'll make fewer mistakes because you're not just go, 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 go. I find that anytime I get overwhelmed and rushed and angry and I spiral and spiral and spiral, and it's just stop and take a breath. We hear people just say all the time, take a deep breath. It's No, but seriously, like stop for a second and take a deep breath and notice how it feels. And the fourth thing and final thing that I have for you guys isn't really a technique, but more so just bringing awareness is really my fourth point. Bringing awareness to your breath and noticing it. Notice. And the reason I'm not going to edit out that yawn that I just had is because when we yawn, there's a lot of things that happen when we yawn, but a big one is that our system is literally relaxing. Our body is shifting into a parasympathetic state, and it's letting that out. So yawning is actually a really, really good thing. So I find it pretty cool that I actually just yawned after those breaths. That is a good thing. That's my body's way of saying, cool, we're safe, we can relax. And so bringing awareness to it. But I chatted a little bit about oils and our sense of smell a couple minutes ago, and I want to just talk about essential oils for a minute, because I've been a rep with Young Living for 2 years, and I've used essential oils pretty much my whole life. And again, I won't get into the whole spiel about them not being regulated and that Young Living is the only oils that I will ever use because I know that they're pure. But the reason that I love essential oils so much is not just because of their delicious, yummy smell and their properties of just helping heal our body. And I don't really want to say the word heal. They help us be proactive in our health. But it's because our sense of smell is our first sense that communicates with our limbic system. And our limbic system is what controls our amygdala and our hippocampus. And so if we're able to take a deep breath and smell something and associate that with a core memory or an emotion that is positive, our mind is automatically going to shift into a calmer state, which is kind of pretty interesting if you think about it. And so using oils, and I like to do something called the scent tent technique, where I'll put 1 drop of oil in my hands, rub it together, and cup around my nose and take some deep breaths. And that's called the scent tent technique. And it works so good. And whenever I do that and I take 6 intentional deep breaths, I find I do that when I'm overwhelmed, and it helps me so much. So that's the fourth thing I wanted to share, is just find something you like the smell of. And again, I wouldn't recommend using like fragrance or perfume or anything strong like that, because that's just going to affect your endocrine system and your hormones and all of things like that. Find something natural. Maybe it's the smell of vanilla. Maybe it's the smell of an essential oil. Maybe it's the smell of lemon. Maybe it's the smell of orange. Whatever it is for you, find something you like the smell of. Coffee beans. I love the smell of coffee beans. Find something you like the smell of. Carry it with you, and anytime you get stressed, take a deep breath and smell that thing and notice how you feel. And so I truly hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode, because as I was listening to Jay Shetty and as I was just beginning to do more research on breathing and just bringing awareness to my own breath and how I've been feeling lately, and knowing that this is something that's been missing largely in my life, I knew that I felt pulled to share this, because it's something we all have in common. It's something we all do, or else you wouldn't be listening to this. If you didn't breathe, you wouldn't be alive and you wouldn't be able to hear this. And so how can you take control of your breath? How can you begin to get ahead and be proactive and practice more and more? Because again, this is a technique. It's called Browning techniques, because it's something that is a skill, and such a useful skill that you can use literally for your whole life. So I truly hope you guys take some time after this to just practice these. Notice how you feel. Do them with your kids if you have kids. Teach them to your partner if you have a partner. Teach it to yourself. Teach it to your friends, whatever, and just bring awareness to that beautiful breath of yours. Find harmony. Come into your body. And again, from a trauma-informed perspective, is that if that is not safe to do on your own, I encourage you to get a therapist that is trauma-informed and specializes in breath work or in trauma-informed practice, or listening to some trauma-informed affirmations on YouTube. That is also a great option. But if it is not safe to be in your body, I definitely encourage you, and know that you're so worthy to go get some help and get the right support that you're needing and deserving. So thank you guys so much as always. Happy Thursday, happy October. I look forward to chatting with you all next week for some more content on Rewire to Inspire. All the love. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at JessieBrown13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.